Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Custom Carving and Epoxy UK, and as you can see this is going to be another big project. So I finally got myself one of these split cups which you use in like acrylic pours and things like that, and I just thought it'd be cool to see if I could do a 3D bloom with a split cup and use 5 different colours. I don't know if it's possible or not, but we're gonna find out. So what I've done so far is I've mixed up about 12 ounces of resin, put it through the debubbler, and that currently is sitting at about 26 degrees, so I've got time. And I'm very limited by space in my workspace because I do it indoors. But I thought, you know what, I love metallic colours, and I thought it'd be interesting if I use 3 different ones, so copper, gold and silver. I've got this black pearl mica as well, which I've not tried before, and then my standard ocean white. Now automatically looking at this, I struggle to pour from these cups, so I'm really going to struggle with something like this, I think. So I think the key is going to be not to fill it, perhaps half fill it when I'm using it, and then refill it if I need to. So we're going to see how that works. So the first thing I'm going to do whilst the resin's heating up is just get these cups ready. I'm going to use these iridescent little rocks again that I got from Temu as the centers, because I absolutely love the way that they look in a bloom. So again, one of these cups, just getting everything prepared now. So I'm going to put 1, 2, and the plan is I want to do a set of 4 and this bloom. So I want to hopefully have 5 really nice coasters at the end of this. And I think that's going to be more than enough. Just in case, add a few more. So that's those. Again, they're just going to need some resin adding to them. But I do find if I'm doing anything like a 3D bloom, it's much easier for me to be able to get my colours ready to just pour into once I'm up to temperature. And then that way, especially if I'm doing 5 at once, I feel that time is not going to be on my side. So again, I'm just getting all of the micas in the pots ready. So first one I'm going to do is this black pearl dry. I'm guessing the fact that it's called black pearl dry means that it's got a pearlescent effect, but who knows in these mixes of micas. I've seen all sorts of weird names for colours and then they're the completely opposite colour, so we'll see together. So just going to get some sticks ready and get the mica in the pots. So again, I think the key is going to be here as well. I don't want to go too heavy. Because I've done that before with these micas. As soon as you go too heavy, that's when you get problems with blobbing. And I'm deliberately waiting for my temperature today to get up a little bit more than usual. So normally I go at about 34 degrees. I'm going to wait for 36 today, just because I'm conscious that by taking a little bit more time by using this split cup, I personally think that it's going to have more of a risk of blobbing, and if I just give it that extra couple of degrees to thicken up, hopefully it's going to prevent that. We might find otherwise, but again, you don't know unless you try. So this is that copper, and I love this colour. It's one of my favourites. But again, you don't need too much, and I think that's where I've gone wrong in the past, is I've put too much of this mica in, and that's when I've got the blobbing. So I'm trying to be, you can always add more if you're not happy with the colour, but you can't take it away. This one's yellow gold. I'm just thinking, have I got too, one's going to be for the white. I was just thinking, have I got too many pots out then? So again, yellow gold for this one. And this is quite a bright yellow gold, this one, he says, and doesn't get any of the mica on the stick. That's probably why, because he's got a stick with half an ounce of resin cured to it. You will see, I am quite creative, but I'm not the tidiest when it comes to my resin art. There we go, so that is my yellow gold. Happy with that, that's more than enough. And then I've got silver. Actually looks quite white, that, but it says it's silver. So I'm going to trust the packaging and get some of this silver out, and then I'm going to need one stick for my white. But again, let me know in comments, guys, do you think this is going to work? Do you think we're going to get a cool design? Or do you think I'm going to get a blobby mess, which has happened a few times? Again, shouldn't really be doing this over the mould, but unfortunately, as I say, I'm very limited on space, and if I'm trying to do this many at once, which is 5, that's pretty much all of my workspace. Again, don't want too much, but I want to make sure there's going to be enough to colour it. There we go, so that's my silver. And touch wood, so far I don't think I've splashed any mica in any of the moulds, so that's a good starting point. Again, for my white, I'm just going to use the Let's Resin Ocean White. And put a drop of that into this one. And all you need is one drop of this Ocean White. Don't go too heavy, because if you do, you will get blobbing. So I've got one drop and a little bit of a string in there. And then I'm just going to add a couple of drops of my Sinker White to that mix as well. And we will see what happens. It could all go horribly wrong, especially when I do a large experiment. That's when things tend to go wrong, so that I waste an awful lot of resin. I don't know if anybody else finds that, but that's certainly what I find. And this is 12 ounces of resin I'm using here for this project. I think there's going to be some spare afterwards, which I'm going to try and put into a mould, but we will see. So that is my colours ready. So my centres ready as well. This is ready. The moulds are ready. Now we're just waiting for the resin to get up to temperature. And I'm already at 28.2, so I would probably say another 5-6 minutes and then we'll be ready to pour. So I'll see you then. So we're nearly there, guys. Temperature now is at 31.5, so I think another minute and we'll be ready. But do me a favour, if you're liking these experiments, just like and subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference. And let me know in comments if you think this is going to work. I don't know, to be honest with you. It's one of those where I've never used a split cup before. I know I struggle to pour from normal cups. So it's going to be very interesting, I think. I'm just giving all my moulds another quick wipe just to make sure there's nothing in there that can affect the bloom in case we get a good one. And you will find with resin, you know, it's about experimenting. It's about having fun. Not every project's going to work out. You will waste some resin, unfortunately, but that is part of the fun. And on that note, resin-wise, I'm using more of a medium viscosity resin for this. So it's the T-Expert 1-to-1 resin that I'm going to be using, which I actually got a really good deal on Amazon, so I'll put a link to that in the description as well. I'm really happy with it as a resin, and I'm not sponsored by them in any way. It's just one that I thought I would try, and I'm getting some really good results from it, so just thought I'd share that with everyone. And do me a favour as well, just put something in comments. Let me know if you're liking the content. Let me know if you want something completely different, because I want this to be your channel as well as mine. But the main thing is, I've had a few people in comments as well say that they're really struggling with blooms. and what temperature should they do it at, and all of those sorts of things. Now the problem is that's very hard to answer because it all depends on your climate, what temperature you're working in. So my room here is around about 21 degrees Celsius that I work in, and for me what I found is with the medium viscosity resin, I'm usually okay with a 3D bloom anywhere between sort of 33 to 38 degrees. With a thicker viscosity resin, I have to lower that. So if I use quite a thick viscosity resin, I have to do it anywhere between, I would say, 31 and 33 degrees. I haven't tried it with a really thin one yet, but I would imagine I would have to wait even longer. So roughly I wait about 20 minutes for my resin to get up to temperature. And for me, with this medium viscosity one, as I say, I wait until it gets to usually about there is when I would go. Now, because I think there's an extra risk here of this blobbing, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. And what I'm going to do as well, just to again try and help prevent that, which I've done once before, is just add one tiny drop of PVA glue to the first 6 ounces of resin, because that's the one that I'm going to be using to pour. And literally just one drop. I put too much in last time and it turned out like slime, but literally that is all I've put in. You can see that one drop there. And I just think it gives it a slightly thicker viscosity, which again helps reduce the risk of blobbing. Now, because I've already put this through the bubble removal machine as well, and I don't want to do that again, I'm just going to be really slow as I stir that one drop of the clear PVA glue in. And I can already feel it starting to thicken up, and that is just one tiny drop in 6 ounces of resin. Look, it's almost creating a slime already. And I don't know if it helped last time or not, but I think it did. And anything I can do to help prevent blobbing, especially when I think there's going to be more of a risk this time because of the fact I'm using that split cup and pouring directly on, I think is worth trying. And you can see it almost goes a completely different consistency. So it thickens that resin up. Now, I'm not going to do this to the other one either. I'm just doing it to this one, which I'm going to be pouring the base layer in. But look at that. It almost creates a resin slime-like substance. So it's so cool. And literally that is just one drop. Now, last time I did it, it didn't affect the bloom at all. The bloom still worked really well, but it did prevent that blobbing. So I'm hoping it has the same effect this time. And I don't normally do that with my 3D blooms. It's just with this one, I feel that there's going to be more of a risk with me pouring directly from this split cup of it being too heavy and blobbing. So just testing the temperature now. 33.2. And the other one, 33.5. So that's good. Both cups were at roughly the same temperature. And I've just got to remember which one's which. But as I say, I want this time to get to around about 36. 35, 36, and I think we're good. But what I will do in the meantime, in fact, no, I won't, because I want to make sure that I've got enough resin to just give me sort of 1/2 centimetre worth of coverage on the base of each of these before we actually get going with this project. So again, I've just spotted some tiny little black dot in that mould, which I don't want, so that's gone. And as you can see, I'm very limited by space in my workspace, so apologies guys, I know it looks messy. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, once this project's done, being able to tidy and reorganize the whole area. I always do that after doing sort of 3 or 4 projects, otherwise it just turns into utter chaos. So that's 33.1. And the base is 31.7, so there's always that couple of degrees difference as well, so just remember that when you're doing your resins. But I've got a feeling this could go horribly wrong. So if nothing else, it could be one of the more entertaining videos, because it's just the size of that cup. Trying to pour out a thin stream, I think, is going to be really difficult, especially with those 5 different colours, and that's why I'm going to make sure that I only half fill it, just to make it a little bit easier on me, hopefully. And then any spare I'm going to put into this spare drip mold. I call it a dragon drip mold because I think I will get some spare. And I think with the colours that I'm using, I'm not going to back this one. I just want to see what it looks like in the clear, transparent resin. So it's going to make it more important, I suppose, to get any of those bubbles out. So we're at about 34 now. I might go. I think 34 is good, especially since I put the PVA in into this layer. So I'm going to try it, and all I want to do is make sure that I've got enough for a thin layer in each. So I'm going to start off with these round ones, and look at that, it's almost like a slime. It's so strange when you add that one drop of PVA glue. And I just want probably about 1/2 centimetre of thickness is what I'm looking for, because I don't want it too thick, but I also don't want it too thin. But we will see. A little bit more in that one, I think. That one looks okay. And drop more in that one. Drop more in this one. And I think I've judged it about right. Again, just making sure that we're going all the way up to the edges on these petals. I can always top it up as well with the other one, which I might have to do. I'm just going to scrape it first and make sure that I've got all of the resin out. And as you can see, guys, I am running out of space, but I'm not going to let that stop me. There we go. And I'm just scraping. This was the mold that I originally mixed it in, so I'd imagine it's all going to be roughly the same temperature by now. And then just adding the last blob in here. I shouldn't use that word when I'm doing 3D blooms. I think I'm almost jinxing myself if I use the word blob. And I've done it twice, and both times I did that in a video and used the word blob, I ended up getting a few blobs. So I'm going to try and avoid it for the rest of this video, if that's okay with you guys. But I'm pretty happy with that. I think we've got a reasonably even surface all the way around. So just going to get rid of that cup to the side. Give my gloves a bit of a wipe. And now onto the colours. So before I get onto that though, I just want to make sure that there is no air bubbles trapped to the side of my mould. And especially these circular ones, they seem to attract them. So just be conscious of that, guys, and go around the edges of each one with your dotting tool. And any that you can see that are visible, just try and bring them up to the surface. Then you can get them with your torch. And actually this star one, flower one, I think is slightly overfilled compared to the others, but we're going to persist and see what happens. So I'm just going around looking for any obvious bubbles, bringing them to the surface. Same with these, because they will struggle to come up by themselves as well, like once you've added that PVA glue. It seems to almost make it a thicker consistency and harder for the bubbles to degas. But I'm happy with that. That is the majority of those bubbles gone from what I can see. So just going to torch it now with my lighter. He says, there we go. One, and you've got to try and avoid going too close to your sides, because you can fuse the resin to your mold and completely ruin your mold, which you don't want to do. Okay, so I think that is good to go. Next, I'm going to mix up the colours. So again, I just eyeball this, so I'm going to put a little blob in there just to mix up with the centres. I'm going to start off with about 1/2 cup and then see what we've got left. And I love these big projects, even if they go wrong, you know, it's just the excitement of not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what results you're going to get until you're finished. And I think I'm probably going to end up with about 3/4 of a cup of each colour. That's that one. So I've got a little bit more of the gold than the copper and the silver at the minute. So again, just trying to do it as evenly as possible, because again, in that split cup, I'm guessing for it to work, they're gonna have to be roughly the same amount in the split cup. So again, just gonna mix these round. And what I am gonna do is just put those centers in first, so it gives it a chance to settle before I actually pour using the split cup. And as I say, I just really like the way that these iridescent beads turn out in the centers. And the reason you cover it in resin is just to hopefully coat everything and try and prevent any bubbles. So again, I'm just going to get a small bit in the center of each, like that. And I hope I've done enough. I think I have. And I actually like it if these come out uneven, because I think in nature, with a flower or a bloom or whatever you want to call it, nothing's ever perfect. Very rare that you see a perfect blossom. I think the Japanese like cherry blossoms for that and say that they get the perfect blossoms with them. But again, what I have found is if you do put something in the center, sometimes it just helps prevent sort of blobbing in the center if that's where you start your spiral. There we go. So I'm just pushing them down, making sure they're all flat, making sure they're all central and reasonably even. So I'm not going to count each one. There we go, and I've got a few of those spare. I'll worry about that later. And then I've got a tiny bit of resin left in this, so I'm just going to cover them. Again, just making sure that they're all covered in resin, because the last thing I want is them sticking out once the coasters are cured. And it's only a thin layer I've put in. So that is those. Next, to mix up my colours. So this one I think was the black. The pearlescent black, and it just looks like a normal black mica to me, but these are already starting to feel warm as well, which I think is good. And just really scrape around the sides if you've put your mica in first, to make sure that there isn't any bits that you haven't mixed up. This is that copper, and I say this is one of my favourite metallics. This copper, it's almost got a reddish tone. I think it's quite festive as well, which is good at this time of year. So that's that one. I remember I've not added any PVA glue to these, so there'll be a slightly different consistency to the resin that we've already poured. This is the gold, and this is quite a light gold. It's not one of the dark ones like the dark metallics that I've got. It's quite a light, bright gold. So that is that one. Beautiful. And as I say, I don't know if this is going to work or not. And this is silver. But I think again it was quite a light silver looking at the packet. And to me that's more white than silver. So that's making me think of doing a different way and putting it in the cup. That to me is pearlescent white. That's not silver. There we go, never trust your labels. So that's that one, the pearlescent white, not silver. And then this is the ocean white. And that's actually got a tiny bit less in than the others. So I'm going to try and scrape as much as I can out of this pot, just to make it even. And again, the temperatures will all be slightly different now, because you've poured, you've mixed, you've put colours in. So just remember that. But it should still work, hopefully. So that's that ocean white. Again, with your ocean whites, you don't want it to be fully opaque. You just want it to be opaque enough that you can see it, and so that you can still just about see that stick underneath, which I can just on this. So now for the fun part. In fact, I'm just going to give them all one more torch. Now I've added those centres just to try and get rid of any bubbles that might have gone in because of that. And I can see a couple of them sticking out at this point, but I think once I fill these with the colours, the micas, I don't think they will, so I'm not concerned about that either yet. Yet being the operative word. So now very carefully I'm going to try and fill this. Now because that silver's turned out more of a white, I'm going to do the black in the centre. And as I say, I'm going to try and get this about half full. Like so. And I've still got about half a cup of that. Then I'm going to do the pearlescent type white in this one. Again, try and get them at the same level, because if you get them at the same level, hopefully they'll come out at the same rate, which is what you want, because you're almost creating that dirty pour effect. So that's that one. I'm going to do the ocean white the opposite side of that, like so. And again, trying to get them all roughly the same level for when I pour. That's that one. And then I'm going to do copper on one end. And gold on the other. And I've got enough there to refill it. Although with me doing these as 3D blooms, I don't think I'm going to need to, if I'm being honest. Because I just want that spiral going round really. And that is my gold. So there's my colours. Now the bit I've been dreading, if I'm being honest, and that is trying to get them all to pour out at the same speed. So I'm going to do it really gently and hope that all those colours come together in the centre reasonably gently, as low down as I can get it, but I don't think it's that low. And around we go. And I've already seen that the gold isn't coming out yet, or the copper. So I'm a bit concerned. Oh dear. What a bad idea this was. It's got a few bits of copper in there. And now they all seem to be coming out at roughly the same sort of speed. Well, I'm not going to get perfect petals in this, but it's still going to hopefully create a really interesting effect. And again, I don't want too much in there. But I do like trying new things. And my advice to you, if you're trying to do a 3D bloom, is do not use a split cup. Because no matter how I'm trying to pour this, I'm not going to get those nice neat spirals, that's for sure. I'm just hoping it doesn't all blob and sink now. Still liking the colours. And then with this one, I'm going to try and go around if I get one that comes out nice from this, I think I've got a result. We will find out together. Wow, this is going to be a strange looking bloom. Very much. And then I'm going to spiral it round and see what happens. Oh dear. But yeah, my advice to you guys, avoid using a split cut when it comes to 3D blooms. It's just so difficult to pour. But as I say, we'll see what it comes out like. A little bit more in this one. And again, with me using those metallic colours, they're going to be quite heavy as well, which is kind of what worries me a little bit. This one really didn't get much copper in, so I'm just going to angle the copper down and hope it's not going to be too heavy. Wow, well, it's definitely fun. However, am I going to get any kind of effect that I wanted? Probably not. That's my colours. I'm going to persist because I've poured the resin now. I want to see what it's going to turn out like. Just going to get rid of any bubbles, then put in these petals. But if I'm being honest with you guys, I think this was a silly mistake, and I think it's a waste of 12 ounces of resin, but we'll see if we get any effects. I am not confident in the least. But I'm still going to draw in my petals, and let's see what happens. So 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It feels really heavy in there, guys. So I'll be shocked if I don't get a blobby mess with these. Absolutely shocked. That's how unconfident I am. But we'll find out. As I say, once you've poured the resin, there's no point going back. So you've just got to give it a chance, carry on, persist, and hope that you're going to get a good result. So again, just drawing in these petals, but as I said, I am not hopeful. I don't know why I thought I could pour into a 3D bloom from a split cup when I struggle with the small cups, to be honest. So again, just a little swirl in the center. But you never know. You never know with resin. This could turn out to be an absolute masterpiece in the morning. Do I think it will? It's probably got 1 in a million chance, I would say. But that's still a chance. If I'm being honest, I think these will probably end up being recycled. Again, just giving it a swirl. I mean, I like the colour combo. So that is one positive. And as I say, if by some miracle they don't blob and they bloom, I think they'll be stunning, but I just think it's going to take a miracle at this point. Just the way that came out of that split cup and the amount that is sort of into each, I just think it's going to be too heavy for any kind of bloom to work. But I have been wrong in the past. Right, so I'm going to leave these two round, but this one I'm going to pull out. And the one on the opposite side as well, just in case. And as I say, I'm not hopeful, guys, and I am going to give it a prayer or two tonight. But if these come out in any way, shape or form, I am going to be shocked. Okay, just going in with the petals on the flower as well. But honestly, I think we're just going to get a blobby mess. I think using that split cup on a bloom was just too much for my pouring skills. Maybe somebody else out there can do it. But unfortunately, I couldn't. Know your strengths. But I'm going to pull these through from about halfway because I quite like the translucent texture it's left in the center. And I might still try and back these. It's not going to be a lot of resin. just in case something comes out of it. And but as I say, I'm not very confident with these at all. But let me know what you think in comments. It was fun, I will say that much. However, it was more of a chaotic fun than actually working. I think it's just very difficult to pour from those split cups, and that's where I really struggled. As I say, maybe somebody with a bit more finesse could master it, but for me it didn't work, so we will see. As I say, I'm going to come back in probably 4 or 5 hours. I'm going to add a very plain back to these, I think, because of how much colour's in there already, and see what happens. I mean, I like the way they look. They look like they're trying to bloom. However, I'm just conscious of how much went on there at once, and I don't think we're going to get a great effect. So I am going to pour the rest of these into my dragon mould and see what comes out of that, so at least it's not a complete waste of a project. But let me know in comments, guys, do you think it's going to work? Does anybody out there actually think it's going to work based on what you've just seen? Personally, I think it is highly unlikely, but you never know with resin, and that's the beauty of it. I might think it's gone horribly wrong, and it might have all settled perfectly on that surface, and it might give us a perfect bloom tomorrow. But I just don't know. So I'm just going to pour these into the dragon mould. You're not missing much. And then I'll come back tomorrow for demold. I'll see you then. Hey guys, welcome back. And it's been about 6 hours. So this has now set up enough that it's still very flexible, but not sticky. I can actually feel the surface. There's no stickiness there. So what I've done, I've got a metal bowl. I've sprayed it with my silicone release spray, and I'm hoping that that will stop it from sticking. And I'm just going to try and demold this now and basically try and make a bowl out of it, because as I say, I'm pretty confident that it's blobbed. It may not have, but I just want to be sure. So this is a silicone release spray that I've used. I've sprayed it and I've wiped the bowl, and look at how shiny it is, but I'm just going to give it another quick squirt just because it's the first time I've done this and I'm a little bit concerned. So I should be able to demold this. It should be flexible enough. Or not, because as I say, it's been that 6 hours, and I think I've just ruined it. What I'm going to do, as I say, this was an experiment anyway. I'm going to just leave it in the bowl like that. So I think I've timed it wrong. I think I should have come back, left it maybe another hour or so. But again, I'm going to get a bowl. It will just be shaped the opposite way around to what I want. So not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Now just put a few fingerprints in there. So again, I think I did it a little bit too soon. So just to get rid of those fingerprints now, I'm just going to go over it, and again that end bit, what I've just tried to demold, and it clearly wasn't ready. I'm just going to go over the torch ever so slightly to just try and get rid of any fingerprints or any defects that I might have put into it myself. But I think, as I say, I think I did it a little bit too early. I should have waited maybe 7 or 8 hours, which is annoying because it was going to be my first really nice bowl. I'm still hopeful that this is going to turn out nice, but we will find out. And all I'm going to do, I only want it to be a slight bowl anyway. So that's pressed down in the center pretty much, and that should just give those petals a slight angle. So anywhere where I've touched, just going over it slightly with my torch, and hopefully when we come back tomorrow, that'll be a nice bowl shape. It's relatively central, but I think I timed it wrong. So lesson learnt there. It wasn't ready, but it seems to be fixing itself. So hopefully we'll still get something nice. And I'm still not convinced it hasn't blobbed, as I'm not convinced that these haven't blobbed either. But we will find out tomorrow. If you're curious about the chocolate that I did earlier in my experiment, it still looks pretty intact, hasn't melted, it's pretty solidified. So this is going to be really interesting to watch over time, how that chocolate breaks down, if it does break down. But that's all I'm going to do for now. Again, I'm not putting a backing on these because I'm not confident they haven't blobbed. And either way, I think they're colourful enough that it doesn't actually need a backing. And I actually quite like that some of it's transparent. So we'll come back tomorrow for demold. Don't do what I've done, give it an extra hour. Maybe with this resin it'll be 7 or 8 hours, but again, each resin's different. I did it after 6. For me, it doesn't feel sticky, but again, that was too soon. So I'm hoping that we still get a nice bowl, and I'll see you tomorrow for demold. Morning guys, and it's the next day and I'm excited to demold these. So yeah, apart from obviously the fact that I've mistimed the bowl, going to take it out its mould. Still got a slight curvature on it as well, so it'll still work as a little trinket bowl or a soap dish, whatever you want to call it. And I'm more intrigued about the other side. So that was the downside about timing it wrong. It's still come out lovely. And as you can see, there's still just those elevated petals, which to me turns it into a little trinket dish. So this side is lovely. This is the side that I wasn't really worried about. And I will get you some better pictures as well. This side, again, it's not really blobbed, which is surprising. I've got those 3D petals. Here it's blobbed a little bit. But apart from that, I think the PVA glue did the trick and prevented this from blobbing. Really happy with that, actually. And it's given me a little bit of hope that the coasters haven't blobbed either. And I think that was just because I did the PVA glue trick, if I'm being honest, because you saw how heavy the micas were when they went in there. Haven't really got any separation between the colours because of how it ended up going in from that split cup. But there we go. Let's have a look at the coasters. And I think I've got sort of, these two are a very different design to these, looking at the colours. So again, when you have one of these coaster molds, you don't fill it. You pretty much half fill it, and then you're good to go. Now that is a blobby mess. Unusual. Dunno. Don't think I like that at all. It's gone sort of grey, blacky, silvery with a little bit of bronze coming through. No petals in there that you can actually see. And I think that was because I used the split cup. So actually, it looks better that way around. So not the best. And I'm expecting the same for all 4 of these, but you never know, we might get a nice surprise. Again, this side I quite like. This side, blobby mess. And all it is, it's because of how heavy it came out of that split cup. So I don't think I'm going to be using that again with blooms, if I'm being honest. For me, it doesn't work. So again, I'm not going to be trying that again, but until you try, you don't know. Again, this side I quite like. And this side, not as much blobbing on this one, but still very heavy. So for me, again, I'm not really a fan. Let me know what you think in comments. Do you like it or not? I just think it's almost too much. So that's that one. And this is the last one, and then I've got a bonus piece as well to demold, so that'll be nice. And again, this side I don't mind. But turn it around, and I just don't like it. Maybe it's just me. Let me know in comments, but there's a bit of separation between the petals. But as I say, I'm not a fan of using those split cups, and I don't think I'll be using them again in coasters or anything like that. The bowls actually turned out to be my favourite. That, I think, for me, has turned out to be lovely. And it's actually got the least blobbing on as well, so that's turned out to be my favourite. And then for the last piece, I've got the bonus French Bulldog mould, drip mould, that I've been filling over the last few projects. So again, just going to try and get him out. or her, and see what it looks like. As I say, it's taken a few projects to fill this guy, a bit like my drip dragons, if you've seen those. And again, these aren't the easiest to demold, so just take your time. There we go. And actually, he's turned out really cool. I do quite like him. He's probably my favourite piece that I've demolded today. And you can just see those different projects that I was doing, and the different colours. I might do one of these just in gold and one of these just in copper, actually, because I love that. So yeah, little drip French bulldog as well as a bonus demold. So let me know what you think in comments, guys. As always, like and subscribe to the channel. But for me, if you're going to get one of these, they're best used on canvas paws, not on things like blooms. It just comes out too heavy and it's too hard to control. Again, prove me wrong, do it yourself, tag me in the video, I'd be intrigued to see. So apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you on the next one.